And speaking of veterans, I don't think there's anybody that I know that supports veterans, supports the military, like John C. Carman. You've heard that name, president of Carman Community Funeral Homes, and past president of both the National Funeral Directors Association and the Connecticut Funeral Directors Association, and also Frank W. Carman IV, secretary of Carman Community Funeral Homes and John's nephew. John, good morning.
Good morning, Brad. How are you?
It's great to have you with us. You know, I have to commend you and your family over the years. I'll never forget the first time that I visited with you, and you had that picture, all the medals.
My dad.
Of your father. And, boy, if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye. But, John, you and the family have really been a great part of our community, really. This is the first time I've been able to thank you on the radio.
Oh, well, Brad, thank you. I mean, only in a small way compared to certainly the support that you've been to so many groups and organizations. You know, last night as I stopped at the office in Windsor, and it was late, and and there was my mother, 87 years old, and she was at her desk and she was working, and it just made me think of how fortunate that we've been as a family for all these years. Yes, she is,
my God.
And still working every day. And yet that, my nephew is here. I saw my son Jay this morning and spoke to my son Matthew to have 3 generations working together, and then to be in work where every day you can spend every day helping people. I mean, we're just so fortunate. We've been so fortunate, and as a small business in the community, to be able to also find ways to support so many of these very important charitable works and things that happen. It's like we're looking forward to coming down again for Turkey Day.
Oh, you do?
And supporting
Turkey
you with that.
Tuesday.
Yeah, it's just so, there's so many of these things that are so important. We're so happy, a few years ago when my mother was one of the the Grand Marshals of the Veterans Day Parade. I mean, that was a highlight of her life. I mean, she still absolutely just beams when she thinks about it. And last night she said, "Now, are you going to be able to take me down to the parade again this year?" And I said, "Absolutely, we wouldn't miss it." It's
and
just
Frank W. I love that. Frank W. Carman IV.
That's right.
How are you?
Good. I'm great. It's great to be here.
You know what is unusual, John and Frank, that it's the whole family. I mean, when you go to Carman's, it's the whole family. And how many homes do you have now?
Well, we have 8 funeral homes, and of course we also, the rest of our staff are actually like family. I mean, we've had people that have been with us for 30, 35 years, and so many of the wonderful caregiving funeral directors that are on as part of our staff are just like family. That's in fact, oftentimes people will say, "Now, how are you related?" Yeah, we're just very, very fortunate.
But
there's
blessed. Something, and I say this to both of you, there's something that stands out. And I was talking about it earlier this morning. There's not too many of us in our profession, broadcasters, that talk about their faith. I don't do it a lot, but I am someone who tries to live the way I should live, believe deeply in Jesus, pray every night. And there's one thing that you do. It's a personalization, I call it, when you lay someone to rest. Truly, this faith, you have these meetings, you have people, you have readings, and it makes the family. It's tough when you lose somebody. I know when I lost Rosanna.
Yep.
But when you have this kind of support, it makes it a little easier.
I think that, all we can do is promise to be able to walk with people. And, because this area is so cosmopolitan now, there's so many different faiths, there's so many different cultures, it's so important for us to just, be able to help people to express what they need to be a real good listener and to help them. I mean, that's really what this is about. People have very, very different and difficulties today. And when they go through the worst time in their life, I mean, they just need somebody that just promises
Especially
to be with
the
them.
holidays.
Oh, yes. And in fact, that's one of the reasons we do this Coping with the Holidays program that over in Vernon and in Windsor, and actually just next week in Avon, the first one will be there, because people just need that help
What do
and
you do?
guidance
Just
through that.
explain to my listeners, Coping for the Holidays. What do you do?
Well, the Coping with Grief During the Holidays is a program we started many years ago, and we've had different speakers who have come in to help our families with a difficult time, usually people who've experienced a loss of a loved one themselves. And they just really help people with how they got through it in their own way, give them some great ideas and ways they can attend holiday parties, be with their family, and take part in the holidays without feeling left out, but also knowing different ways that they can get through it in this very difficult time. Especially for most people, the first time going through that holiday season without a loved one is the most difficult that they'll ever experience.
And you do things like this, John, the year round. Yes, you do them for the holidays, but you do them the year round in every one of your facilities.
Well, we do. I mean, we try to, we've realized that providing that extra support after the funeral was very, very important. Back in the early 1970s, when we started doing the first support groups, the only support groups that existed were for AA back then.
Yeah, that's right.
And we started doing seminars as a series and realized that people needed to stay together. And we've now had continuing support groups for, since 1972, actually.
John C. Carman, my special guest, president of Carman Community Funeral Homes, and his nephew, Frank W. Carman IV. Frank, what was your motivation? This is really unusual to have this kind of a family all together in the same business. What was your motivation?
My motivation was really going around with my father and my uncle, who I've always been very close to as a young boy, and seeing all the people that really loved him. And before I even really knew what my father did on a day-to-day basis, I knew a lot of people appreciated him, that he was well respected in the community, and I really enjoyed that. Back as a little kid, it was just a guy that wore a suit and drove a big black car every day. And as I got older, I realized what a huge difference he made in people's lives during a particularly difficult time. And that really was my motivation in helping families as a career for me, and just a passion and way of life for me is helping people.
Well, when I first met your uncle, and I went into the home, and he came over to me, and he says, "Brad, how are you?" And started to talk, and the whole atmosphere, because it was at a time, and I remember that there was someone who had passed, the family was there, the guests were coming in, and your uncle spotted me, because I just wanted to, I wanted to see what the home was like, and I did, and I had a nice talk with him, and you guys have been my sponsors ever since.
Yes, we have. It's been a wonderful, wonderful friendship. But it's been more like people caring about people, and you have the same philosophy we do, and so I just appreciate that.
Now, again, how many homes do you have now?
We have homes in the communities of Windsor and Pequannock, Granby, Suffield, South Windsor, Vernon, Rockville, and Avon.
And how many years has it been?
Well, let's see, since 1946.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, 65 years this February.
65 years when my dad came back from World War II, and he and my mom started the original funeral home together. We grew up there on the second floor as children, and then now. My brother Bill, my brother Rick, and I were together for many years. And then when Rick decided that he needed to do something else and left after his kids were out of school, but Bill and I have been there together for a long time.
And that picture of your father,
yep,
I will never forget. I saw that the first day that I met you with his medals.
Yep.
With his medals, and it's always been there.
Well, something we're certainly and have been very, very proud of, and it's been certainly a huge motivation for us to continue to do everything that we can to help help veterans, help their families, and certainly to honor their service and to thank them. We're fortunate that we have another generation that's also serving. My youngest son is a career Marine, just came back from a tour in Afghanistan. My nephew, Jack Degata, Lieutenant Jack Degata with the 82nd Airborne, he just came back from a tour in Afghanistan. Other nephew is now back in the Coast Guard Reserves after active duty, and my son Scott, after his Marine Corps time, is down in the Border Patrol in Arizona.
Well, I'll tell you, my three favorite words: passion, inspiration, and hope. And let me tell you, John, you and your family epitomize those three words to me. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you, Brad.
It's 8:45, and I'll be back.